Hello and welcome to Kabbalistic Astrology, the world's weekly forecast. We decided to come back from our summer holiday, which we were off for like a month. And Matt and I, we even met in Switzerland. And we decided also to change the name of our podcast to come more into a weekly forecast for the world. And Matt will give us some insights, what's going on, instead of like giving more energy shots. So that was kind of cool in the pandemic, but we decided to evolve like the phoenix from the ashes after our summer holiday. So hi, Matt, how are you today?
I'm very well, and I'm excited about a change. It's always it feels like it's going to a new frequency, a new change, a new bit of astrology, and I think this is it's great. It's great to evolve.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's going on this week? Tell us.
Okay. Yes. So I think this podcast is going to be over probably this week and next week because we've had a month off, and so we can't fit so many things into one podcast. So make sure you come back next week to get really the whole picture of where we're at. That would be great because I think, for me, I like to make is a smaller amount of information, but a bit deeper, so you really know what one piece or a couple of pieces of information about. We're going to do 3 or 4 today, but so over the podcast, you really get the handle of things that are happening in this week. Most of the things don't happen particularly in a week. They happen over a bit of a more period of time, but we'll start with what's going on that are really important, and we will add in some things next week as well. And also, just to add, what's coming up is on the 24th of September is really important, that week beginning the 24th, 25th, around there, because this is when the karma resets. The karma resets always on the new moon of Libra. The new moon of Libra holds in the whole clock over of karma. So we are before this at the moment. So we are finishing off sort of karmic work.
Yes.
Yes. And at the new moon of Libra at the end of September this year, it'll be at the end of September, our individual souls sort of are taken into account like a courtroom. Yeah. And I imagine it like this. It's like you take in a CD into a courtroom with 3 judges, and you all sit there and watch the CD of your year. Now, if you were sitting in that situation, there'd probably be bits where you think, oh, that was great. That went well. I remember this fondly. That was happy days. But there's probably bits also where we might cringe or squirm and like, oh, I did that, or I behaved like that, and all of that. So, there's some bits we don't really want to see when we go into this courtroom. We want to have an editing suite, that we go into, cut out the bad bits, re-amend the bad bits, chop them out, and then go into the courtroom looking like, we were great spiritual people who had a tremendous year, right? Yeah. So the month of Virgo is the editing suite, right? It presents to us the challenges that we didn't meet or didn't succeed in during the year, right? It gives us a chance to analyze. Now, this is what Virgos do very well. They have a detailed eye, an analytical eye. They're very civic minded. They're very hardworking. They're very like, what can we do that's better? They're very orientated like this. Yeah. They're able to really see this bit is out, this bit needs fixing, this bit is incorrect. We could do this, we can make this better. And they do it very functionally, very streamlined, very efficient. Chop that, cut that, do that, right? They're not emotional people. They're analytical, illogical. This is the way it will be better, right? So that is great. Now, what is their slight challenge? The slight challenge is they're very quick to judge. That can be positive. I need to be quick to judge sometimes. What if a bus is coming, right? But they can be quick to judge in a negative way, right? They see 2 seconds of a person and they think they know the whole story, right? So they judge on the superficial very quickly, right? They seek perfection where perfection is impossible. Mm-hmm. For example, if I got 10 Virgos in a room and said, what's the perfect cake or the perfect way to make a cake? they're not going to give me the same answer. They're all going to have their own ideas of perfection. So perfection only exists in our own mind. It's an ego, right? There is no perfection that a human can have, right? We're all here to evolve, to change, to improve, but we can't be perfect. And perfection only exists in one person's mind. It's not my idea of perfection, and you've got different ideas of perfection, right? So this is an illusion that they carry. It's a delusion, in fact. It's just something that is impossible that they keep going to try to achieve. And this makes them a lot of anger or cantankerous nature. They tend to want things their way, right? Because I've already assumed that this is the perfected way of going. And if we don't all fit in with that, then I'm going to get very upset about it. And this is the Virgo nature to correct. So, as I said, there are many good things which I mentioned before. But these are the energies, the negative energies that we are all likely to fall into this month. So it's to let go of making things perfect, let go of over-analyzing something, letting go of being judging on the superficial things where we don't know the full person's story, and just using an analytical eye to really go back over our year and look at ourselves. Right? This is what we want to shift the energy into. What is it that I could do better? Where was it that I could have done more? Where was it that I could have been helpful but thought I was helpless? Yeah. Where was it that I could have helped someone but I just judged them and didn't bother? Where is it that I, just fell into a lack or a doubt? Look at all the areas of our short circuits. As human beings, we are very subjective. We're very subjective about ourselves. We can see other people very well, but we cannot see ourselves. This is very Virgo, right? They give great advice. If you want great advice, ask them. It may not be well presented. It may be very as it is, but they do see correctly. Yeah. But they find it difficult to really see something a little bit beyond the superficial. Yeah. So we want to go beyond the superficial. And the best way to do that is maybe think about, doing some exercises that enable reflection. How do I redo? How can I reanalyze? How can I rethink the way things could be?
Or
what I also think with the Virgos could be, for example, especially when you have your own inner perfectionist, when you have a topic with the need of perfection, but not adding up to your own standards of perfection. What I really like is to streamline processes. Like when I used to work in business, in corporate business, I was responsible for the process management. So every department had their own processes, and these processes needed to be updated every 18 months. So what that means is in business, they understood that a certain type of procedure was valid for a certain amount of time, but then after a certain amount of time, you have to revisit if the procedure is still valid or not. It's the same like we did now with the change of the name and with the new, the adaptation of the vision of the podcast. This is what you can do with yourself. Ask yourself, just because I always did things like that, or because I always wanted it to be like that, is this still applicable to my new value set? Do I still want to have that as the same values? And when you understand that you are an evolving set of processes, then you do also understand that other people are the same. So you give also better advice. You are more able to have more compassion for others, which is something we want to create more to be more compassionate for the other person's evolution, and to understand that, sometimes you need to reanalyze your own behavior. I think
that's right. And I really like these words around processes and streamlining and making more efficient and revisiting, because they're all Virgo words. Totally. People with Virgo energies in them will always be good at that.
Virgo rising.
Oh, there you go. So, so that is very much what we're doing here, but we're doing it on this bigger picture of our soul, and not just for the purpose of like, beating ourselves up, because that's a Virgo trait as well. Because if it's not perfect, I'm going to, give myself a whip on the back. What we're doing it for is really, as you said, this other great word is compassion, and to do this work with a lot of love, to do this work with a lot of self. Love for yourself. It's like, how can I? And of course, what you're also doing when you're doing that business process is you're not only reanalyzing it to see where it could be better, but you're also setting it up for the next series of circumstances, right? Totally. So you might have someone in your business that says, this is the strategy. How can we get the processes to fit, right? And this is what you want to do. What are my ambitions for my next year? Yeah. Now, who do I need to be in order to meet that ambition? How do I set myself up for? So I've gone back and reanalyzed it, but don't be a Virgo and overanalyze it and punish ourselves. We're only doing it as a revision technique so that when we go into this next karmic year, we're already pumped up and set up to be the person that we need to be, and to live that person this month, right? To live who you need to be this month. And then when your soul goes into this courtroom, you're already presenting yourself with a year, and you take charge of how the year will be, rather than the judges telling you, well, you need this kind of year. You become the cause in your reality. Yeah. So the Kabbalists had this whole technique of really showing up into this courtroom for analysis, this karmic courtroom, as the cause. This is who I am. This is what I want my year to be. And you take charge of it. So it's a very exciting thing. I recommend doing reflective exercise, one a day. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really beneficial. I have been doing this reflecting exercise with Matt. And I feel it's very, very beneficial, because sometimes we do know a lot of things, like how do you do things, and how to be more compassionate. But when you have like one little exercise a day where you're like, oh, I want to really focus on that today, that really allows you to have an evolution within your own presence, within your own consciousness, within your own way of dealing with things, which is an absolute amazing exercise.
Yes, and I think it's great, right? Gives a bit of structure to the whole spiritual month, and it also makes you do the action, because there's thousands of people that know a lot about spirituality, but they don't do the action, right? That's where the cream is sifted out from the milk, is the people that do the action of the cream. So here we're doing actions in this month that really show we want to be different, and that sends a message into the upper worlds as well. There's also a layer over it that we also get. What happens when we do this work in Virgo, when we call ourselves into it, all of a sudden messages start to show up. All of a sudden people start to say things to us. All of a sudden things become a lot clearer. So there's an intuitive element that goes over the top. So for example, I got a message from a friend saying that I don't listen. Maybe in sessions, yes, but maybe in private conversations or as friends, I could sometimes tune out, right? Because I'm a Pisces, I disassociate. Right? So I sort of try to take, like that into account and talk about it with my teacher. And there's a tendency for me to kind of over listen, like to really go in too deep when people are talking, and I absorb so much of what this person is saying that then I have to check out because I can't cope anymore. Now that's nothing to do with what the person is saying. It's a part of being a Pisces. It's a part of the behavior that I need to correct on in order to go deeper with my friendships, or better, or something that I'm missing. I don't want to miss anything the universe is telling me, especially, right? So I can't do that when I'm checked out. So I want to be a little bit more effortless, right? I want to be present and listening, but I don't want to be putting in so much effort into it that I can't sustain a whole conversation with someone if they're sharing something that is problematic. I'm okay when it's fun or it's lighthearted, or, it's chit chat, whatever. But when a person is sharing something very, friendship situation, something dear to their heart, I'm absorbing too much, right? So this is an activity that I want to take a layer off, improve on. So it come into something, as the point is, something more intuitive in the month, apart from just analyzing. Excuse me. So if you get a feel for something, you get a message for something, don't block it. In this month, it's really about listening to what people are saying, get the feedback they're giving you, the criticism. Excuse me. And you'll be clear it.
Out of the throat as well.
any blockages you'll be able to clear.
Where would you say, like, when you look, what I read today, for example, I found that really interesting, is that the Vatican at the moment wrote out a letter where they get all their assets, their financial assets, back into the Vatican in the next 30 days. So, and I saw that this message that this is currently happening. So the Vatican is like taking all money they had anywhere in the world, and they take it back into Vatican Bank. There is a certain kind of bank, they have their own bank, they have the Vatican Bank, so they take the money back into the Vatican. And that also, it's really interesting on an energetic level. That also seems like this consolidation of energy that is happening on many different levels. So when you look in the world's news, and when you look at what's currently going on planet Earth, where would you say is the nuance of this Kabbalistic teaching? Where can you see it?
Right, it's a great question. If I share the astrology of it first, and then we'll come maybe into maybe sustenance and prosperity. So what's interesting is Venus is about to go into Virgo. And as we said, Virgo is about reorganization and reprocessing, and Venus is about money. And one of the things I wanted to share on is this kind of theme. It's a great question, and it's really on the mark, I think, because we will see reorganization and reanalysis of what we're doing with the Venus things. Venus things are relationships, finances, and health. So these are all the things we care about in the world, right? I want to be healthy, I want money, and I want to be in a nice relationship. Is all Venusian Venus energy. They're all the same. How we treat these things, how we treat our relationship, how we treat our money, how we treat our body, are all the same. Right? If we dig down deep into whatever is blocking any of those things, it's the same thing, which I think is a really interesting point, right? Yeah. So here on the bigger frequency with the Venus going into Virgo, that you will find in the world a lot of shifting and changing and reorganization of finances. We may see budgets. We may see, especially with the crisis now, especially with consolidation of finances, especially about, really ensuring that we look after ourselves, properly. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that as Venus goes into Virgo, we will be very analytical of our finances. But here the Kabbalists share something interesting, about finances and about money. It's about why you have it, not what you have. So you have to dig deeper into why you need those finances. Now, let's be honest with ourselves, since we're in Virgo, it's a great month to be honest. Most of the time, our answer will be something about ourselves. It's what I need. I want a holiday, I want a car, I want to build another room, I want to get a dog, I need to pay the bills, whatever. Yeah, and all those things are valid, there's nothing wrong with them. But in the seed level, there's no sharing. Yeah, so in the seed level, we need to be coming from a sharing perspective. We need to be a vessel for the money. So the universe is has the sharing characteristic. It doesn't have a receiving characteristic. It only knows how to share. So when we are planting things in the seed level of sharing, we are becoming the channel for the universe. That's the person that shares. That's the person that is most like me, right? And we become most like it, and it becomes most like me, and we develop an affinity with each other. Yeah, we coalesce with the universe. We cleave. The Kabbalists would use the word cleave. We cleave to the universe. Yeah. So yes, those other things are important. I'm not saying don't do them, but the reason you're struggling to attract money, or the reason there may be fears and doubts, is because we're primarily concerned with our own survival. Yeah, and that disconnects us with the universe, which is not what our body tells us. Our body says, oh, if you share when it's a crisis, right, or you think about sharing when there's a lot of financial need, then you're going to have less and they're going to win. Okay? It's the same when we smile at someone. If I smile at someone, they don't smile back, I'll never smile at anybody again. It has a destructive nature in it, right? So we need to be able to elevate our seed level of our finances to say, this is what I earn, this is how much I have, what can I do to share it more? Yeah, I'm not saying give it away, but how can I develop a sharing attribute? So if I do need another room on my house, how can I share it? How can I share it to make others happy? Well, can I invite them in for meals? Can I do groups or something? Can I make something for people? Or I don't know, whatever it is, but look for the sharing in what you're doing. Yeah. And then that elevates things. Now, what the reasons why the Vatican might be doing this, I'm not privy to, but unless it doesn't matter if they're giving it to others or coalescing it back into their base, if it's not done with the consciousness of sharing more, and eventually the negative aspect of the negative inclination of this universe will come in and push it out. Let's look at different examples, right? Let's look at examples where people have hoarded money and not share it. We see this with the oligarchs, right? I'm not against people money. I think people who have great ideas and work very hard and take big risks should have a lot of money. Right, go for it. I'm not one of these people that are very militant against rich people. I think it's great. These people are very action orientated. Where we're sitting around scrolling, they're not doing this, right? They're action orientated people. They're not the majority of people. A very small amount of people. They're 1% of the world, right? But they're very action alpha orientated people. Now, the only way that they can sustain the finances that they have is from acts of sharing. Yeah. So they keep it not from how much they're receiving, they're keeping it from how much they're sharing. They're sharing orientated people. Otherwise, a chaos will sit in and they'll lose it. But most of these people tend to keep it because they're thinking of how they can serve others or be better for others. And while we may judge them and look very critical at them and then say, oh, they're not sharing because they probably are, right? So we don't know. We're just hidden from that information. But I assure you, the way to grow and move finances is by acts of tithing or sharing or charity or contribution to something bigger. Here, this draws into the other point where we have the 5 outer planets retrograding: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Saturn and Jupiter are very concerned with society. When they retrograde, we get concerned for the society. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, when they retrograde, we're concerned with the cosmos. So as Venus enters Virgo with these 5 planets retrograding, we're very concerned where the finances are going as sharers and finances are going to societies and communities around us. We're reflecting on that. So we're setting the theme in this month to how we deal with a lot of the cost of living crisis, or where people are not doing so well, or how we help people that society needs to help. We're reorganizing our finances around this way. This is what the universe is showing us. Before Venus goes into Virgos, it's in Leo. Leo is very much about like taking back control and having dominion, right? So this will be the nature. What I will foresee is that we tend to take back the money into our own hands, right, into ourselves. But the next month means where can I, as I said in the beginning, Virgos are very civic minded. We have these 5 planets retrograding. Some people will, some people won't, but the energies are saying we're going to help people better, where we're going to be more civic minded.
Love that. And I think that's something that everybody can do, and that we also see, like now, especially in Europe, you can see with the cost of living crisis, you can see a lot of movements towards sharing, caring, inclusion, a lot of also with the refugees. There is a new way of also of approaching refuge within the European Union. And I feel like, for me, when I feel into this month, it feels very consolidating. I think that's the best word I could find if I were to describe this energy that is currently.
A great word. It's a great word. You're reanalyzing in order to see exactly where you're at.
Totally, yes. And it feels like this is like an energy of consolidation. What do I mean by that? It's on a spiritual level, I would say, where do you give away your power to others? Where do I
resource do I give things away too easily? Yeah.
For free? Where do I where do I give away too much energy also? Like for example, I have this thing when I'm in groups, and I'm usually never in groups, that I get an overwhelm of light, and I almost give too much light out, and I share too much, and then it's like it's almost burning me out. So I have to find a way of not doing that anymore, to consolidate my energy. Also, it's like consolidation on many different levels. It's like on a spiritual level, where do I give away power to my teachers? Where do I give away power to a religion? Where do I give away power to any spiritual concepts? And then on a more personal level, it's like, where do I give away power to my loved ones, or energy to people that I love too much? In dating, for example, I also have like this. I when I used to date in the past, I gave away a lot of energy in the beginning without even checking, like, is it even like met on the same level? Like, what does this person offer me? Like, to step back, to consolidate, to really like gather together, so you walk more firmly and more streamlined into this new moon in Virgo then.
Yes, I agree. Yes, the moon's the lunar cycle of Virgo. Absolutely. Very good. Just to finish off with, because I think this is a good point, the moon starts the week with in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is great for elevating above and seeing the truth. So Sagittarius, big picture, very strategic, big adventures. What's the big idea of sorry, 1 second. That's my dog. All right, stop now. And it gives you the ability to set a new direction, or set new goals or new objectives, or how you see yourself. So I think this idea of consolidation, and then from that you can set your objectives, your goals, and the truth of where you really want to go is really important. Sagittarius moons are, when the moon starts the week in Sagittarius, it's always about seeing the truth from a bigger picture. Yeah. Not the details. The Virgo gives us the details. So there's a kind of nice combination of bigger picture and details this week that enable us to hover above the issue and look down and see how all of these little things have added up into something that I need to change, or to consolidate and go in a different way. Yeah. So that is the kind of places that we can be in this week for ourselves. And as you said, I think we'll see a lot of financial, budgetary, economic, money moving activity through the month.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. And we also see, like, for ourselves, it will be like, relax where you have to, Like, I feel that this month is a lot of relaxation. Also, you know, we had a very hot summer, especially here in Europe, but also in the States. I know it was really, really hot. So also, like, from a physical point of view, you know, this high heat summers that we have experienced, there's a lot of fire in our body. And in order to get a little bit less fire in the body, there are some Ayurvedic options for that, with certain kind of teas, with certain kind of herbs. You can go into that, like, to get a little bit of the fire out of the system, to consolidate again, to move back together, in order then to also be more healthy in the autumn days, and back in a more like straight up energy. That's what I feel. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And the idea when we're existing in the month of Virgo is not so much to do more; it's to, who do I want to be in the next year. So
Yeah.
it's like it's pulling out the values or the energies that you want to take into the next year. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to run around fixing everything and doing things. It's kind of more of a mindset, mindfulness, energetic shift. Okay, this next year, how I need to move myself is to here, is to this point, and energetically live the month. So whatever is happening, you're in that energy this month, and it's going to set you up for the year to come. It doesn't necessarily, as Nicole said, mean physically doing more.
Yeah. This is really what I feel like. My deepest, if I would have need to give out an idea of where to go, I would really say it's a great month, for example, to start a 40-day practice, or a new morning practice, or a new budget. Like, get yourself a budget sheet and streamline the money outflow and the money inflow. That's what I want to do for my businesses and for my personal use. This is my goal. I really want to get hold of, like, how do I do that? Or also, where do I spend my time in? I don't only want to see where do I spend my money, but also where do I spend my time, and streamline that better, because I really feel that this month gives you this great opportunity to shift things around that we usually don't have.
That's right. Exactly
There
what
we go.
it is.
And there you have it.
So that will happen in the small picture and the big picture, of course, as you said, with the Vatican, and also this week Britain will have a new prime minister who will be doing that, and there will be a lot of it. I'm sure we'll have many European things about what we're going to do, how we're going to get through this winter, how we're going to afford things, how we're going to streamline things, how we're going to save things. We're going to have that, right? So you can feel it in the bigger picture, and this is always a message for ourselves.
Yeah, totally. All right. I think that was really beautiful. We started back again. We're back next week with a Kabbalistic Astrology, the world's weekly forecast.
Amazing.
So if you really like that, you can come back, and you can also, like, if you saw something in the news, or if you saw something on the internet, and you really would love us to go in deeper into the energetic quality, but also astrologically from Matt's side, you can DM us, and you can DM Matt at DMatt Taylor Experience, or me, it's Nicole Ercolani Official, and then we will take that into the consideration and speak about it in the podcast. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I wish you a wonderful week. Have a great start, and all the best.
Ciao.
Bye.